The huge metal ships appeared in Earth's sky on a Tuesday morning. They hung over major cities like silent silver clouds. People stopped in streets to look up. Cars crashed. Phone networks failed from too many calls at once. In Washington, D.C., President George Ward stared at the screens showing the ships. His face was pale. The room around him buzzed with frantic activity as military leaders shouted orders and advisors rushed in with reports. "We have no defense against this," said General Laura Benson. Her voice was steady, but her hands gripped the edge of the table. "Their technology is too advanced." The aliens made no threats. They simply waited, broadcasting a single message in every human language. "We come in peace. We invite Earth to join the Galactic Confederation." 3 days passed. World leaders argued while people panicked. Some welcomed the aliens. Others prepared for the end. Frank Miller watched it all from his small office at the State Department. At 52, Frank had spent his life in quiet diplomacy, solving problems between nations. He had gray hair at his temples and deep lines around his eyes from years of careful listening. His phone rang. "Miller," he answered. "The president wants you at the White House." "Now," said the voice on the other end. An hour later, Frank sat across from President Ward, confused why he was there. "I'm naming you United Earth Ambassador," said the president. Frank blinked. "Sir, there are hundreds of people more qualified." "No," Ward cut him off. "There aren't. You ended the African resource crisis without firing a shot. You got North and South Korea talking again. You understand how different cultures think. And most importantly, you know when to say no." Frank's confusion must have shown on his face. The president leaned forward. "The Joint Chiefs believe we shouldn't rush into this alliance. We're vulnerable. Earth just survived World War III 2 years ago. Half our cities are still rebuilding. Our governments barely trust each other. If we join this confederation, now we might become servants, not partners." Frank nodded slowly. "You want me to decline their invitation?" "I want you to buy us time." 2 days later, Frank stood before 17 alien species in a hastily prepared conference room in Geneva. The aliens varied in shape and size. Some looked almost human. Others had too many limbs or eyes that didn't blink. The leader was tall and blue-skinned with 4 arms, High Emissary Zoktar of the Galactic Confederation. "Earth welcomes the Galactic Confederation," Frank began, his voice steady. The universal translators the aliens provided turned his words into 17 different languages simultaneously. "We are honored by your invitation." Zoktar's large eyes blinked slowly. The 4-armed alien seemed pleased. "However," Frank continued, "Earth must respectfully decline at this time." The room went completely silent. The alien stared. Some made strange movements with their bodies that Frank couldn't interpret. "No species has ever declined membership," said Zoktar finally. The translator couldn't hide the shock in his voice. Frank smiled politely. "Earth has just emerged from a devastating global war. Our nations are still healing. Our resources are limited. We need time to stabilize our own world before we can be valuable members of your community. The Confederation could help with your recovery," said a small green alien with large eyes. "And we appreciate that offer," replied Frank. "But we believe we must solve our own problems first. We request 5 Earth years to rebuild and prepare. Then we would be honored to reconsider your generous invitation." The aliens whispered among themselves. Frank stood still, hiding his nervousness behind years of diplomatic training. Zoktar finally spoke. "This is unusual. But the Confederation respects the self-determination of all sentient species. We will return in 5 of your years." The aliens left the next day. Their ships vanished as quickly as they had appeared. Frank returned to Washington expecting to be thanked and dismissed. Instead, he found himself appointed permanent head of the new Global Extraterrestrial Relations Office. "The world's leaders agree," President Ward told him. "We need to prepare for when they return, and we need someone who thinks carefully to lead that effort." While politicians argued about the aliens, Real progress happened underground. Deep beneath the Nevada desert, in a facility hidden even from most government agencies, scientists Olivia, Wright and Peter Donahue made the discovery that would change everything. Olivia was 34, brilliant but practical. She had black hair always pulled back in a ponytail and wore the same style of blue jeans every day because it's one less decision to make. Peter was older at 47, with a wild beard and a habit of forgetting to eat when he was working. They had been studying unusual energy readings from Earth's core for years, but 1 week after the aliens left, their instruments detected something new. "That's impossible," Peter said, staring at the readings. "Energy can't behave like that." But it was happening. Something at Earth's core was vibrating in patterns that defied known physics. "It's like it's responding to us," Olivia whispered. "Like it knows we're looking." Their report to the Global Science Council was met with disbelief. Then other labs confirmed it. Something was happening inside Earth, something that matched no known scientific model. 6 months of experiments led to their first breakthrough. They discovered how to draw tiny amounts of this strange energy to the surface. When they did, the energy responded to human thought in ways that seemed impossible. "It's not just an energy source," Olivia explained to a room of stunned government officials. "It's something more fundamental. We think it might be connected to consciousness itself." Frank Miller was in that meeting. He understood immediately what this meant. "The aliens don't know about this, do they?" he asked. Peter shook his head. "Based on their technology, we observed, no. This is something entirely different." Frank looked at Olivia. "Could this be why Earth is the only planet with such diverse life? The only planet with so many conscious species that evolved together?" Olivia nodded slowly. "It's possible. We're just beginning to understand it." In the following months, the Wright-Donahue Energy Initiative became Earth's top priority. Nations that had been enemies now shared research and resources. The strange energy, soon called core energy, could solve Earth's problems without the aliens' help. But more than that, it would change humanity's place in the universe. 1 year after the aliens left, Frank Miller stood with Olivia and Peter in the first core energy station. The facility hummed with power that required no fuel and produced no waste. "When they come back," Frank said quietly, "we'll be ready to meet them as equals." What none of them knew was that the aliens hadn't really left. Hidden observation posts throughout the solar system watched Earth's progress with growing concern, and deep in space, something ancient and hungry stirred, sensing a change in the cosmic balance. 5 years passed quickly. Earth changed in ways no one could have imagined before the aliens came. Senior observer Nell Vax watched it all from her hidden base on one of Saturn's small moons. She was not supposed to be there. The Galactic Confederation had promised to give Earth 5 years of privacy, but the Council worried. No species had ever refused membership before. They needed to know why. Nell Vax had light purple skin and 6 fingers on each hand. Her large eyes could see energy patterns invisible to humans. For 5 years, she sent reports back to the Confederation, and each report made the Council more nervous. "They are advancing too quickly," she wrote in her latest message. "Their technology is moving in directions we have never seen before." On her screens, she watched Earth transform. Cities rebuilt themselves. Forests grew where there had been only dust. The oceans became clean again. And strange power stations appeared all over the planet, giving off energy readings unlike anything in the Confederation database. On Earth, people celebrated the 5th anniversary of First Contact Day. In Washington, D.C., Frank Miller stood on a stage with Olivia Wright and Peter Donahue. Behind them was a small black cube, the first portable core energy generator. "5 years ago, we asked the Galactic Confederation for time," Frank said to the crowd. "We asked for a chance to solve our own problems. Today, I'm proud to say we've done much more than that." He gestured to the cube. "The Wright-Donahue Core Energy Initiative has given us clean, unlimited power. Our cities are rebuilt. Our air and water are cleaner than they've been in 200 years. And we've done it ourselves, using an energy source that exists only on Earth." What Frank didn't say was that core energy was getting stranger every day. It didn't just provide power, it seemed to respond to human needs and emotions in ways science couldn't explain. In her lab in Boston, Susan Rivera was discovering just how strange it really was. Susan had curly brown hair that she never bothered to comb and always wore red-framed glasses. At 36, she was one of the world's top neuroscientists. Susan connected volunteers to core energy through special helmets. What she found changed everything. The energy doesn't just respond to our thoughts, she explained to Frank when he visited her lab. It connects us to each other. When two people wear the helmets, they can feel what the other person feels. They can share memories. They can even talk without speaking. Frank watched as two volunteers demonstrated. They sat on opposite sides of the lab with their eyes closed, wearing the helmets. One held a ball. The other, without opening his eyes, reached out his hand just as the first volunteer tossed the ball across the room. He caught it perfectly. "This is just the beginning," Susan said. "I think core energy might be the physical form of consciousness itself, and it's getting stronger as more people connect to it." Jack Simmons used this discovery to transform Earth's defense forces. Jack was a former Navy captain with a square jaw and hands that never seemed to stop moving. As head of the New Earth Defense Fleet, he oversaw the construction of ships unlike any seen before. "We don't need weapons," he told Frank during a tour of the first ship, the EDF Guardian. "Core energy lets us create fields that can simply move matter aside. Nothing can hit us if we don't want it to." The Guardian looked nothing like the alien ships. It was smooth and white, with no visible engines or weapons. Inside, 6 crew members wore special helmets connected to the core energy source. They could control the ship with their thoughts, moving it faster than should have been possible. "The aliens use machines to travel between stars," Jack explained. "We use consciousness itself." In Nevada, Olivia and Peter made another breakthrough. They discovered that core energy existed throughout the universe, but only on Earth had it gathered in a way that conscious beings could access. "It's like Earth is a special place where consciousness and energy meet," Olivia said. "Maybe that's why we evolved here." They built a device that could detect core energy at great distances. When they turned it on, they found something unexpected. A small concentration of alien technology hiding near Mars. "They're watching us," Peter said. Frank wasn't surprised. He would have done the same thing if he were them. He called a meeting with the World Council, the new government that had replaced the old United Nations. "The Confederation will return soon," he said. "They've been observing our progress and they're probably concerned. We need to decide what to tell them." President Maria Lopez nodded. "Do we join them now? We're certainly ready." Frank hesitated. "I'm not sure we should. We've developed something they don't understand. If we join the Confederation, we'll have to share core energy technology with them. Are they ready for it?" The debate lasted for days. In the end, they decided to send a message to the observation post near Mars. "We see you," the message said. "Please respect our borders. We will contact you when we're ready to talk." The response came quickly. The observation ship left Mars orbit immediately. The message was clear. The Confederation was embarrassed at being caught spying, but not everyone in the galaxy respected Earth's wish to be left alone. The Kralthax were a species known for their aggression. They looked like tall, muscular humans with rough gray skin and sharp teeth. For centuries, the Confederation had kept them in check, limiting their expansion and military growth. Admiral Vrock of the Kralthax fleet saw an opportunity. If the humans had technology, the Confederation feared that technology could make the Kralthax the dominant power in the galaxy. "These humans are divided and weak," he told his war council. "Their planet is rich with resources. We will take what they have and use it to claim our rightful place in the galaxy." Against direct orders from the Confederation Council, Vrock assembled a battle fleet of 47 warships. 20,000 Kralthax warriors prepared for what they thought would be an easy victory. The fleet traveled secretly, avoiding Confederation space until they reached the edge of Earth's solar system. They hid behind Jupiter's moons, preparing for their attack. But Earth wasn't as unaware as they thought. The core energy detection system spotted them immediately. Jack Simmons ordered 5 ships to intercept them near Europa. Jupiter's icy moon. Captain Diane Reeves commanded the lead ship, the EDF Sentinel. She was small and quiet, with short blonde hair and a calm that never broke even in crisis. She had been one of the first to connect with core energy and understood it better than almost anyone. "We will give them one chance to leave," she told her crew as they approached the hidden Kralthax fleet. "If they refuse, we will show them what core energy can really do." The Kralthax ships emerged from hiding, weapons charged, expecting to face a primitive defense force. What they found instead would change the course of galactic history. And deep in space, something ancient and hungry moved closer, drawn by the growing core energy field around Earth. The Kralthax battle fleet moved toward the 5 Earth ships. On the main screen of his command vessel, Admiral Vrock laughed. The human ships were small and had no visible weapons. This would be easy. "Send them a message," Vrock ordered. His voice was deep and rough. "Tell them to surrender their planet or be destroyed." The message reached the EDF Sentinel. Captain Diane Reeves read it calmly. Her crew waited for her response. They wore their connection helmets, linking their minds to the ship and to each other. "Send this reply," she said. "Earth is closed to outside contact. Leave our system now." Admiral Vrock received her message and laughed again. "Fire warning shots," he ordered. "Show them our power." Energy beams shot from 20 Kralthax ships toward the Earth vessels. The beams should have cut through metal and killed everyone inside. Instead, the beams curved around the Earth ships, not touching them at all. Vrock stood up from his command chair. "Impossible," he whispered. On the Sentinel, Diane and her crew felt the attack through their mental link. They didn't need to speak. They thought as one, and the ship responded. "This is your final warning," Diane sent to the Kralthax fleet. "Leave now." Vrock was angry now. "Full attack," he shouted. "All ships, all weapons." The Kralthax fleet fired everything they had. Energy beams, explosive torpedoes, and metal projectiles raced toward the Earth ships. Nothing hit. The Earth ships stayed perfectly still as the attacks bent around them like water flowing around rocks. "Our turn," Diane thought to her crew. What happened next lasted only 6 minutes, but stories about it would be told across the galaxy for centuries. The 5 Earth ships didn't fire weapons. They didn't need to. Core energy flowed from them in invisible waves. The Kralthax ships began to change. Their metal hulls softened, their shapes twisted. Their weapons melted away. Admiral Vrock watched in horror as his mighty fleet was transformed. "What is this?" he screamed. "What are they doing to us?" The Earth ships weren't destroying the Kralthax fleet. They were reshaping it. All 47 warships with all 20,000 Kralthax warriors inside were gently moved into a perfect ring around Europa. The ships merged together, becoming a smooth metal band circling the moon. The Kralthax themselves were not harmed, but placed in a deep sleep. Captain Diane Reeves sent one final message. This defensive action was regrettable but necessary. Earth remains closed to outside contact. Do not attempt military engagement again. The Earth ships returned home. They left the transformed Kralthax fleet as a monument and a warning. News of what happened reached the Galactic Confederation quickly. The Council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from all 17 member species gathered in the Great Circular Hall on the Confederation capital world. High Emissary Zoktar stood at the center. His blue skin had paled with worry. "The humans have technology that defies our understanding," he said. "They transformed an entire battle fleet without destroying it." "They must have been hiding this technology when we first contacted them," said a small green alien. "Their refusal to join us was a deception." "Perhaps," said Zoktar. "Or perhaps they have developed it since then. Either way, we must decide how to respond." Some wanted to send a larger fleet to Earth. Others wanted to offer the humans special status in the Confederation. They argued for days. What they didn't understand was that Earth wasn't using technology at all, at least not in the way the aliens thought of it. Core energy wasn't a weapon or a machine. It was a connection to something more fundamental. On Earth, people celebrated the peaceful end to the Kralthax threat. In her Boston lab, Susan Rivera made another breakthrough in understanding core energy. It's changing us, she told Frank Miller. They stood in a room filled with volunteers wearing the connection helmets. The more we connect with it, the more it connects with us. Frank watched as the volunteers moved objects without touching them. Some could read each other's thoughts without the helmets now. Others could see things happening far away. Are we still human? Frank asked quietly. Susan smiled. We're becoming more human, not less. Core energy doesn't control us. It responds to our choices. It makes us more of what we already are. In Nevada, Olivia Wright and Peter Donahue discovered something troubling. Their long-range scanners showed that core energy existed throughout the universe, but it was fading in many places. It's like something is consuming it, Peter said, pointing to regions of empty space on their map. And whatever it is, it's getting closer to populated areas of the galaxy. Olivia checked the data carefully. The Confederation doesn't know about this. Their technology can't detect core energy. They don't even know it exists. They took their findings to the World Council. Frank Miller sat with President Maria Lopez as they explained. We think this is why Earth is special, Olivia said. Our planet has a strong concentration of core energy that resists this consumption. But the rest of the galaxy is vulnerable. Should we warn the Confederation? President Lopez asked. Frank thought about it. They wouldn't understand. They think in terms of technology and resources. Core energy is something else entirely. Then, what do we do? Asked the president. Before anyone could answer, alarms sounded. Jack Simmons rushed into the room. We're receiving a distress signal, he said. From the Confederation. The message was short and desperate. A Confederation colony world at the edge of the galaxy had gone silent. The rescue ship sent to investigate had disappeared too. Something was destroying entire planets, and the Confederation's weapons had no effect. The final words of the message were simple. If Earth has the power we witnessed at Europa, please help us. Frank looked around the table at the World Council members. It's time to decide, he said. Do we stay isolated and safe? Or do we help a galaxy that isn't ready to understand what we've become? President Lopez spoke for everyone. We turned away to heal ourselves. We didn't turn away to let others suffer. The decision was made. Earth would respond. Jack Simmons began preparing the Earth Defense Fleet, now 5,000 ships strong, all powered by core energy, all connected to human crews who understood its true nature. And across the galaxy, the ancient entity that fed on core energy sensed Earth for the first time. It had consumed countless worlds over millions of years. Now it turned toward this new source of energy, stronger and richer than any it had found before. The true test of humanity was about to begin. Earth prepared for its first major mission to help the Galactic Confederation. The mood was serious but determined. People who had once focused only on their own world now looked to the stars with a sense of duty. In orbit, 5,000 ships gathered. They were beautiful vessels, smooth and white, built not just with human hands but with human minds connected to core energy. Each ship needed only a small crew of 6, their consciousness linked to control the vessel. On the flagship, EDF Hope, Frank Miller watched the fleet assemble. At 57, his hair was now fully gray, but his eyes were bright and clear. President Lopez had asked him to serve as Earth's representative on this mission. It's a beautiful sight, said Captain Diane Reeves, standing beside him. After the Europa incident, she had been promoted to fleet commander. Frank nodded. I never thought we'd be preparing to save the same aliens who arrived here looking down on us 15 years ago. People change, Diane said. Maybe aliens can too. Below them on Earth, Susan Rivera worked day and night to prepare special equipment. Her team had built portable core energy generators and connection helmets that could be used by non-humans. We can't fight this thing with weapons, she explained to the World Council. We need to teach the Confederation how to access core energy themselves. It's the only way. In their Nevada lab, Olivia Wright and Peter Donahue made a disturbing discovery. They had been tracking the unknown entity consuming core energy across the galaxy. It's not just one thing, Olivia said, showing the scan results to Jack Simmons. It's billions of small things working together, like a swarm. Peter pointed to the display. They're consuming core energy and leaving dead zones behind. No life can exist there afterward. How do we stop them? Jack asked. We don't know yet, Olivia admitted, but we think they're drawn to core energy use. When the Confederation colony started using advanced technology, it might have attracted them. And now we're about to go there with ships full of core energy, Jack said grimly. We could be feeding the problem. They took this information to President Lopez. She called an emergency meeting with Frank Miller, connecting to the Hope by secure channel. This mission just got more complicated, she told him. We may be attracting this swarm by using core energy, Frank thought for a moment. Then we need to be careful. We'll send scouts first and approach slowly. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent message. 3 more Confederation worlds had gone silent. The swarm was spreading faster. We don't have time to be careful, President Lopez said. Our scouts might take weeks. Those worlds need help now. Frank made a difficult decision. We'll split the fleet. Send 1,000 ships now to the affected worlds. The rest will follow more cautiously. The first wave of Earth ships departed that day. They used their core energy connections to travel faster than any Confederation vessel could, crossing vast distances by partially existing outside normal space. 2 days later, they arrived at the edge of Confederation space. What they found shocked even the experienced Earth crews. 3 planets that had once been full of life were now gray and still. Nothing moved on their surfaces. No plants, no animals, no people. Even the oceans had become dull and lifeless. Captain Liam Bennett led the first team to land on the dead world of Proxima Colony. He was 35, with dark skin and serious eyes. His team wore protective suits, though their scans showed no dangerous materials. It's like everything just stopped, Liam said, walking through an empty city. Buildings stood intact, vehicles sat in streets, but all life was gone. His science officer, Grace Palmer, took readings. The core energy is completely gone from this planet, she reported. It's been drained away. As they explored, they found no bodies. The people hadn't been killed. They had simply faded away when the core energy was removed. Core energy isn't just a power source, Grace realized. It's what connects consciousness to physical reality. Without it, consciousness can't maintain a physical form. The Earth fleet spread out, visiting each affected world. They found the same pattern everywhere, and they found something else, trails of disturbed energy leading away from each planet. We can track them, Liam told Frank when the Hope arrived with the main fleet. Frank had never seen anything like the dead worlds. He had expected destruction, not this empty silence. Have we made contact with any surviving Confederation forces? He asked. Yes, Diane Reeves replied. They've established a defensive line around their central worlds, but their weapons have no effect on the swarm. Frank called a meeting of all ship captains. Their images appeared in a circle around him, connected through core energy. We now understand what we're facing, he said. This swarm consumes core energy, the fundamental force that connects consciousness to physical reality. Without it, life, as we know it, cannot exist. Can we fight it? Someone asked. Frank looked to Olivia and Peter, who had joined the Hope before departure. Not with weapons, Peter explained. The swarm isn't physical in the way we understand. It exists partly in the same realm as core energy itself. Then what do we do? Another captain asked. Olivia stepped forward. We need to communicate with it. We think it might be a form of consciousness itself, one that doesn't understand it's destroying other conscious beings. The captains looked skeptical. How could they communicate with something so alien? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Zeltor, the Confederation's most distinguished scientist, requested permission to board the Hope. He was tall and thin, with skin that shifted colors depending on his mood. Currently, it was a deep purple of distress. Your ships move in ways our science cannot explain, he said when he met with Frank. Your people survived contact with the swarm when ours did not. Please, tell me what you know. Frank hesitated. The World Council had authorized sharing some information, but not everything. What if I showed you instead? He suggested. Frank took Dr. Zeltor to meet Susan Rivera, who had joined the fleet with her team of researchers. She explained core energy to the alien scientist and offered him a chance to experience it. This helmet has been modified for your physiology, she said, holding out a connection device. It will let you feel what we feel. Dr. Zeltor's skin flickered with both fear and curiosity. Will it harm me? No, Susan assured him. It will expand your awareness, nothing more. The alien scientist put on the helmet. His eyes widened and his skin rippled through a rainbow of colors never seen before. This changes everything, he whispered. What Zeltor experienced would change the fate of the galaxy. And as he learned, the swarm drew closer to the heart of Confederation space and to Earth itself. Dr. Zeltor removed the connection helmet slowly. His skin had settled into a deep blue color that none of the humans had seen before. His large eyes blinked as he tried to find words. All these years, he said finally, we thought technology was the measure of advancement. We were wrong. Frank Miller nodded. Core energy isn't technology. It's awareness of something that was always there. The alien scientist looked at the humans around him with new respect. This is why you turned away when we invited Earth to join the Confederation. You glimpsed something that required you to grow before sharing it. Yes, Frank said simply. We needed to understand it ourselves first. News of Dr. Zeltor's experience spread quickly through the Confederation fleet. Soon other alien scientists requested the same opportunity. Susan Rivera and her team worked day and night, adjusting the connection helmets for different alien physiologies. Meanwhile, the swarm drew closer. It had consumed 3 more worlds, moving faster as it sensed the concentration of core energy in the Earth fleet. On the Bridge of the Hope, Frank received a message from the Confederation Council. Their long-distance transmission showed the council chamber, where representatives from all 17 species gathered in emergency session. Earth has proven itself a friend to the Confederation, said High Emissary Zoktar. His voice was solemn. We ask now for your help against this threat that our weapons cannot stop. Frank looked at Diane Reeves, who stood beside him. She nodded slightly. The Earth Defense Fleet is ready, Frank replied. But we must tell you, we don't plan to fight this swarm with weapons. We believe there is another way. The council members looked confused. Zoktar leaned forward. What other way could there be? This swarm consumes entire worlds. We believe it's a form of consciousness itself, Frank explained. One that doesn't understand it's destroying other conscious beings. We plan to communicate with it. There was silence. Then an explosion of voices as the council members argued among themselves. Some thought the humans were crazy, others were desperate enough to try anything. In the end, Zoktar raised his 4 arms for silence. How can you communicate with something that consumes consciousness itself? By understanding what it truly wants, said a new voice. Elizabeth Keene stepped onto the bridge. At 32, she had become Earth's most skilled core energy practitioner. Her connection to it was so deep that she no longer needed a helmet. Her brown eyes seemed to glow from within as core energy flowed through her naturally. The swarm isn't evil, Elizabeth continued. It's lonely. It consumes core energy because it's trying to connect with other consciousness. But it doesn't know how to do that without destroying them. Frank introduced her to the council. This is Elizabeth Keene, Earth's first galactic ambassador. She has sensed the swarm's nature through core energy. How can you know this? Asked a council member. Elizabeth smiled gently. Because all consciousness is connected through core energy. The swarm is part of the same universal awareness that we all share. It's just forgotten how to listen instead of consume. The plan came together quickly. The Earth fleet would not run from the swarm or try to fight it. Instead, they would gather in its path and create the largest core energy field ever attempted. Every human connected to core energy would join their consciousness together, creating a beacon that the swarm couldn't ignore or consume. "It's dangerous," Olivia warned Frank. "If we're wrong about the swarm's nature, it could consume all of you at once." "If we're right," Frank replied, "we save the galaxy." The Earth fleet formed a sphere in space, 5,000 ships positioned carefully. In the center floated the Hope. Elizabeth Keene stood on its bridge, surrounded by Susan, Frank, Diane, and others who had guided humanity's journey since first contact. On Earth and throughout the fleet, every human connected to core energy joined their minds together. Billions of consciousnesses linked in a network of awareness that stretched across space itself. The swarm approached. It looked like a dark cloud that bent light around it. Sensors couldn't detect its true nature, but those connected to core energy could feel it, hungry, ancient, and very alone. Elizabeth stepped forward. She didn't speak with words. She opened her consciousness fully and sent a single thought toward the swarm. "We are here. We understand. You are not alone." The swarm paused. For the first time in its ancient existence, it felt something other than hunger. It felt recognition. Elizabeth continued to communicate. The swarm had once been like any other conscious species, but it had evolved differently. It had learned to exist as pure consciousness, without physical form, but in doing so, it had lost the ability to connect with other minds. Its attempts to connect had turned into consumption. "We can show you another way," Elizabeth told it. Through the network of human consciousness, she showed the swarm how core energy could connect minds without destroying them. She showed it the joy of sharing thoughts rather than consuming them. The swarm changed. Its darkness began to glow with soft light. It stopped its advance and began to reshape itself around the Earth fleet. On the Confederation worlds, people watched in awe as the deadly swarm transformed into a shimmering field of light that spread through space, touching their planets but harming nothing. Most remarkable of all, the worlds that had been emptied of life began to stir again. As the swarm learned to give rather than take, it returned the core energy it had consumed. People who had faded away found themselves solid again, awakening as if from a dream. 3 days after Elizabeth made contact with the swarm, she addressed the Galactic Confederation Council. Representatives from all 17 species listened in stunned silence. "Humanity turned away 15 years ago not out of fear or isolation," she explained, "but because we glimpsed something in the universe's fundamental nature that required us to mature before sharing it." She gestured to where Dr. Zeltor now stood beside her, his skin glowing with the soft light of core energy connection. "The energy you've seen us use isn't technology. It's awareness. The universe itself is conscious, and we've simply learned to listen and harmonize with it." She smiled at the council members. "The swarm wasn't your enemy. It was a manifestation of cosmic imbalance, one that occurs when sentient life expands, without understanding its role in universal consciousness." In the days that followed, humans taught willing Confederation members the basics of core energy awareness. The nature of reality itself seemed to shift as more beings learned to connect. With the universal consciousness, the swarm didn't disappear. It transformed, becoming a bridge between physical reality and the realm of pure consciousness. Its destructive purpose dissolved once it remembered its true nature. Frank Miller stood with Elizabeth on the observation deck of the Hope, watching, as human and alien teachers shared core energy techniques with eager students from across the galaxy. "When we turned away from the Confederation 15 years ago," Frank said quietly, "I never imagined it would lead to this." Elizabeth nodded. "We turned away not to abandon them, but to become what they needed us to be when the moment arrived." The galaxy had realized that humanity's apparent withdrawal had been a desperate race against time, to evolve quickly enough to save everyone when the inevitable crisis came. The doom they had feared from human isolation became instead salvation, through human transformation and an invitation to a new kind of existence.